Oh no, why are we doing this? It's a weather report for Saturday, July 2nd, except mine says July 1st. We have nobody watching. Nobody's watching us.
Oh, I thought Hovind's in the chat.
I mean, there's people in the chat, so.
Yeah, but what the hell? So why is it two? So we have, two people.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I noticed that it doesn't, because usually it tells you up in that upper left-hand corner how many you got in there.
One.
Yeah.
Wow.
We must
Pretty
really
cool.
suck.
That means we can do anything we want. So okay, maybe I don't know. Should we do the Colbert thing? But I kind of wanted to do a little bit of John's epic after show because there was Alec Dix pops in, or is that Alec Cox?
Yeah.
Alex Cox, and then you're talking about John Maddox after show, like after what?
It was after the Wade the Wizard.
Yeah.
And of course, you can imagine. Okay, I think all atheists need to get together, and we all have to wear funny hats from now on, like funny hats like Wade, because it really drives Maddox nuts when we wear hats.
Yeah. One time he debated a guy in a onesie and he just went off about it.
Oh, he was going off about it on this stream again. Yeah. Talking about it again.
Oh, I remember, like somebody showed up and they were in a onesie.
Yeah, and they had ears on it. He had little, like little teddy bear ears. It was pretty cool. What do we got here? Prize comes in.
I wonder how he'd react if he debated someone in a well-dressed collar and a bow tie and a hat. Wonder how he'd react then. I'm curious.
Yeah, hang on a second. Maybe I can find this because I do have the transcript.
What do you mean? Maybe you can find what? I thought you had the video ready.
No. I was looking for something that these guys said that kind of ties into what Colbert was talking about.
Right.
A little bit, right?
Now we have people watching. Hey, Willie.
Gone down the proverbial rabbit hole. So John thinks that no atheist evolutionist has ever actually read about DNA, that he's the only one. And he went out and watched Harvard and MIT videos, and he was, probably
he was the prophet of DNA.
Yeah, so
he's really. Wait a minute. So that doesn't mean what you said. Like, okay, so he doesn't think that anybody he would consider an evolutionist has ever read anything about DNA. How could he seriously believe that? I mean, or is he just saying like
evil evolutionists on YouTube? I think is what he was talking about. So.
Right. I mean, because he's not pointing the finger at scientists then actually.
Yeah, because, sometimes they do say stupid things like that. Like, this paper I'm reading where I'm getting my creationist nonsense from, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm reading the paper anyway.
I remember one time where SFT compared scientists to children as far as them looking at junk DNA and trying to find function for it. That really, I'll remember that one.
Let's see here. I'm not sure where the hell it is. God damn. Okay, I'm probably not going to be able to find it unless we go through the whole video.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Well,
I mean, isn't there an argument to be made that it's all junk DNA? Because look what it made.
Look what it made.
Yeah. I mean, just look at us.
Yeah, all those secretions and
Well, look, even by the creation of
explosive content.
The creation, their theology says that we're all flawed and we're sinners and we're dirty and we have dirty thoughts, and so
we're marvelous creations, except we're not.
Yeah, except we're not. We're flawed.
Right.
And note that they believe, because of genetic entropy, that their children are even more flawed than they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then just remember, at one point, God had to file bankruptcy and start over again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at the flood. Let's see. I don't know. Okay,
Just what judge approved.
Haven't paid your taxes. Boom.
We can just go through what I have bookmarked. I don't know.
Very well.
Okay. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Okay.
Because you must.
We don't really have to see this full screen, so I'm going to leave it as it is.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead.
I mean, just the one thing that brought me to your channel in the beginning and has kept me here all this time is the production values.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. That's quite a compliment, John. I appreciate it. I work hard on this shit.
I caught the first 20 minutes of it, and just so they don't do anything really new.
Let me slow this shit down because this guy's impossible to understand.
Are we supposed to be seeing anything right now?
You can if you look in the upper left. I said I'm not going to make it full screen because.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
there's not really anything to see then, huh? It's just
nobody's on camera anyway, so.
But they also like to rehash false arguments. Like when he was bringing up the pictures of the DNA similarities, showing how the chimp and human have 98% similarity, which is grossly false.
Oh my God!
There's humans have a 15% more DNA length than chimps.
Chimps.
Is that Gavin? Is that Gavin?
No, it's somebody named Gregory Tremaine. I guess I'll make it bigger so people can actually see what the hell we're looking at. Okay. So, anyway, he's talking about chimps. Chimps. I love the Aussies. Chimps? They say chimps instead of chimps. Okay. So he's talking about, where the fuck is he here? Gregory here. Let's see. Oh, what the fuck? What the hell? Anyway, I'm not sure where the fuck it is, but John, it's hard to listen to this guy, but he's talking about the DNA similarity to chimps. And the chimps have like 98% DNA similarity, but according to these guys, it's like, well, listen to what John says, I guess. That's next. Okay, DNA similarity, and then we go, I think, we got to listen. Fuck me. Production value.
Hey, up next we got Alec. What's up, man? Good to see you. I ain't talked to you in a while. How you been?
Not much logical. What's going on, brother? Well, self-debasement is a requirement for all.
Oh shit, that's too far. What the fuck did I do?
Good, man. Good show already, and thanks for having me.
Sorry.
We missed the cheap stuff. Cheap.
So
just so similar.
That was Jeff Spicoli.
But so many just don't want to, ignorant of it or refuse to recognize the significance, and usually toss in the, it's just junk, it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't do anything, no big deal, doesn't matter if it's different. But of course, we're finding out on a daily basis that there is more and more specific functionality that's, designated in the non-coding regions and have, massive ramifications on the outcome of the fitness of the organism.
And we already knew that.
Yeah, well, no, and what he's saying is pretty much bullshit because what, okay, we've got 3.2 billion fucking nucleotides, right? And we've identified functionality for about 3% of them, And every day somebody finds another sequence of nucleotides, maybe 120 or something like that are functional. We find some functional RNA. And then the next day we'll find another 200 that are functional. Divide 200 by 3.2 billion and see what you get. As far as how fast we're increasing that percentage that we know we have functionality for. And then take a look at what is conserved and what is not conserved between fellow humans, for Christ's sake. And you can see that it has no effect on your fitness at all. You can still run the same marathon you ran last year, you know?
I don't know if it was this stream or the stream before this one, but like John was being kind of satirical with the chromosome rearrangements and the chromosome fusion between or chromosome 2 fusion.
We're going to talk about.
Okay. I'll say what I have to say then.
We got a bookmark. Okay.
So I don't. Were you? I don't understand. What were you talking about? You said you could still run the same marathon. What?
Oh yeah. Well,
basically you're going to have a fuckable lot of mutations all over your body between now and 1 year from now.
Well, right, but I mean, it confused me because you're kind of when you use that term, you're kind of muddying the waters of the usage of the word fitness in this context. Like,
I don't think
you're not
so.
talking about. Well, you're not talking about fitness to like do physical acts, like you're. Talking about your fitness to adapt to your environment,
and reproduce, right? Yeah. So I'm using fitness in the second form, you know, basically.
You're kind of like equivocating a little bit, like, and it's not. Yeah, I mean, but it's okay, like, because you're talking to Andrew and
what I'm saying is that.
What's the other guy's name? I keep forgetting. Scott. You know, so they know what you're talking about. But I'm just saying, like, for somebody who listens now or listens in the future, they hear you say that might confuse them.
True.
So that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, most of the mutations that happen to your body ain't going to have any effect on you at all until the one that kills you.
Right. On neither type of fitness, basically.
Right. Neither type of fitness. Oh, let's see here. Good man. Okay, that's praise. So fitness, they are good. People just want to avoid that, but that'll be definitely interesting for us to talk about. Okay. So now we got praise coming in. Let's see what he has to say.
Praise.
Boy, I bet it's going to be intelligent.
Somewhere Johnny said, what did he say? Oh, fuck. You know, I missed a whole lot on this fitness thing, and I can't find it. So they're talking about 98% similarity, and then John says, you know, there's 36 million frickin' bases that are different between the chimp and the human. Well, you know, that works out to 1.25%, I think.
Right.
So
always figure out the denominator on those things.
Yeah, you
really how there's a larger number of nucleotides that are different between a rat and a mouse. Yeah, I don't see anyone complaining there.
Well, he claimed that the mouse was only 9% similar to humans, 9%. And I've looked at it.
That's not true.
No. Well,
Chris, I mean, what percentage of like, aren't we like some high double-digit percentage sharing? No, sharing it with like onions and shit like that too.
Yeah.
Wait, but he was saying it was only 9% similar to humans, the DNA. Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah,
that's way wrong.
I thought for a second he thought 9% different. That kind of confused me there.
Or 9% similar. He says we were 9% similar. So
it's like the same thing when they claim like, oh yeah, 80% of the proteins are different between different species, and you're only talking about like one amino acid change between different proteins.
Here we go. Similarity comparison is things like we're supposedly 84% similar to mice, for example, but that's if you're comparing the coding regions. if you look at the similarities in the genome overall, it's 9%. And I think that's even wrong because that just,
Okay, citation needed there.
well, the thing is that we do look at the coding regions because it's the coding regions that make a difference. And that's what we're interested in is the conserved regions. We're not interested in the fact that there are mice that have, some mice that have like 24 chromosomes, I think, and other mice that have 98 chromosomes. And these fuckers live in the same locality. And I think they can even interbreed occasionally. So it's when you're comparing the mice, you've got to have a standard of comparison. And when you're comparing chimps, we have a standard of comparison.
Right. And different number of chromosomes does not necessarily mean a different amount of DNA in total. It could just be you have a bunch of smaller chromosomes kind of cut up versus a few large chromosomes, for example, which isn't always the case in terms of these different numbers, but just having
John
doesn't mean you have more DNA.
John likes to, he was talking about how evil atheist evolutionists never go down the rabbit hole and actually learn the details. Well, that's exactly what they're doing here. Is they're not learning any of the fucking real details that matter when we're comparing one genome to another. It's tricky business comparing one genome.
I mean, and so is he just? It's been so long since I've even paid any attention to him. So what is he using? Evolutionist and atheists, are those like interchangeable terms to him?
He's
like,
calling them evil atheists.
Yeah, in his mind, it kind of is. YouTube evil atheist. Well, he's a YouTube Creo fucking believer. Gotta have.
Can we highlight Dave's point right here because it's a pretty important one. Yep, that one.
Okay, come on, guys, quit fighting over it.
Yeah, so Dave is saying here 80%, 90%, 99%, still pretty similar. The argument over a few percentage points, doesn't seem to change the fact that they're still very similar. Yeah, exactly. Like you can argue about the exact numbers and which region of the genome you're looking at, but the argument still stands that no matter what metric you're looking at, they're going to be the most similar kind of creature to humans.
Right, and at the end of the day, you have to look at the mapping from the genome to the phenotype. And if you don't know what that mapping is, if you don't know that there is a mapping, then you can't just assume that there is one.
Right.
So the areas of
the argument is a bit deeper than saying, oh, they're 90% somewhere in their DNA, therefore they're related.
Fucking Germania. Look at this Germania guy, what he's planning on doing to me again.
Oh, no.
Man, he's cold.
He is cold. Okay. This is where praise comes in. I can't remember what praise is. Go ahead, John.
No, I just was paying attention to what you just pointed out about Germania. So he's just fucking with you then, huh?
Yeah.
He's kind of a little dick. He's
the
a little
sign
dick.
of true friendship.
Yeah. Okay.
Good, man. Good show already, and thanks for having me.
Nobody else will.
Well, I thought the main guy, I thought he was sort of insolent towards the Christian faith, very disrespectful. He has contempt for Dr. Hovind there. I thought that he crossed the line a little bit. Then he also made Donnie feel uncomfortable. He went on his own.
Okay. So wait, I'm glad you stopped. Okay, because I just want to say, if you don't have contempt for Kent Hovind, there's something wrong with you. So I don't know.
You have major issues that need therapy.
You took the words right out of my mouth, John. Goddamn. It's like, yep, yeah. So contempt for the Christian faith and making fun of the Christian faith. Of course, we're atheists. We don't believe in God. We don't.
Yeah, and Icarus points out apparently he let slip Dr. Hovind.
Did he say doctor?
I think so, but I could be wrong.
He always calls him Dr. Hovind.
I don't think we have to. Do we have to listen to any more praise? Well, he goes on for quite a few minutes. Let's see what
platform. So But the atheists, they get away with all this stuff. But
puffin hat or something. I mean,
yeah, I know.
I have a hard time. Okay, so here's a serious
here we
question
go.
for the audience. What is the deal with atheist debaters on YouTube and the ridiculous outfits they wear? And then
We do it just to get under John Maddox's skin.
you're the ones that are being serious. I've never been able to get that. Like the guy that did a debate with me, whose screen name was, quote, actual socialist trash. That's his username. Okay. No low self-esteem.
Yeah. Hey, hold on a second. Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay.
So-
now this is
So he doesn't. So Maddox doesn't understand that he picked that screen name because he was trolling Maddox.
Mhm.
Like what the fuck?
Yep. And he wore the onesie because he was trolling Maddox, and Maddox just hasn't gotten over it. In what has it been, a year now? Maddox is still going to bars. It's like, this guy came in a onesie and it had ears on it, and yeah, okay.
Best
That
trolling investment ever.
It's funny.
But then he wore a hoodie with animal ears on it.
Oh my God!
It's like you're a
A
grown
man,
man
a grown man did this.
wearing a hoodie. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't a hoodie. It was a onesie. Sorry, a onesie.
Onesie.
A onesie.
Man never wear a onesie. You remember long underwear, John? I used to wear it back in like the 1800s or whatever.
Well, I'm just impressed that there was a onesie he could buy that fit a grown man.
I know. They're hard to find. Sometimes you have to knit your own.
Well, I mean, they might not be as hard to find as you think because there's like this whole fucking subsection of humanity that likes to dress up like babies and
Oh, really? Yeah.
and have women change their diapers and shit.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to the other like 4 or 5 different examples of atheists who wear weird clothing that he's going to give, because
Yeah.
we all know talking about just one example doesn't mean the entire atheist community.
Yeah.
Well, no, we have two.
Why do
now.
atheists wear such crazy shit? Remember that one guy? All right,
Yeah.
next subject.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there's two now. So Wade and the guy that wore a onesie. So
Which one's Wade? What did he wear?
he wore I don't know. He had some kind of animal on his head, some kind of a hat. You know, Wade the Wizard. He always dresses up on his videos like a weird wizard. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
On his channel.
So he had an animal on his head. So he was literally wearing an ass hat.
I think it was an ass hat. Yeah.
Yeah, because So
Yeah.
anyway,
A literal ass hat. Okay.
Grown man wearing a onesie to a debate over on MDB. There's like 800 people watching us, and he's wearing a onesie with like animal ears on it.
800 people? I don't think so, John.
I don't know. You expect me to treat you with respect? Like when you show up in a onesie, you're a grown man wearing a onesie in front of 800.
John, I'm afraid he was not treating you with respect. Is why he did it.
well, I mean, the other thing is wait a minute.
He was fucking with
You
him.
expect me to treat you with respect, not based on what you look like? Like you don't expect me to judge you based on how you look
Right.
and to show you respect? Like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. I'm John Maddox. I don't show respect to people.
Yeah, when does he show respect to someone?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the thing that got me. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Germania is threatening to go live, and you know the $100 that I spent to get his name and address and dox him was the best money I ever spent. So go ahead, motherfucker, make my day. Overlive me again, Gur. Just see what you get. Okay. What were you going to say, John?
A little fish pond with only a certain amount of viewers present.
Okay. There's a part coming up here, John, that's going to play in.
Yeah, play into what I thought were the other video.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just, when I started to talk, when you did too there, I was just like going to point out that was what got me interested in Maddox to begin with, is just dickish way he interacted with everybody anytime I saw him debating on MDD.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't, and I don't even think he realizes he's doing it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just the tone of voice he uses with people and the contempt that seems to drip from his voice when he talks to certain people. I don't know.
Here we go.
There we go.
What's this now?
He's wearing a flash hat.
Design.
Yeah, he's got a flash hat on, and we're supposed to treat him with respect when he's got a fucking lightning bolt on his head.
Oh, wait a minute. So he has the onesie. He's wearing a Flash hat, the Flash, like the superhero, the Flash, while he's bitching about someone wearing a onesie.
Yeah, that's kind of irony there, a little bit.
Well, at least he's showing the avatar, but yes.
And just to make it simple, in case LPP is indeed watching this, because we know he all is.
He does.
Yeah, we don't make fun of you, John, because you wear a Flash hat. We make fun of you because you say some of the most ridiculous stuff ever.
No, we make fun of you, John, because of who you are.
Yeah, that too.
Well, I mean, it's
It's a combination.
hashtag John Maddox is a grifter.
Yeah, we know that. Okay, we're moving ahead here.
They're unstable, man. It's like I think the Bible kind of says that in Romans 3 that their lifestyle is turbulent. It's up and down. Like there's really nothing. No foundation for principles. None of that stuff. And I think it was kind of showing tonight. But yeah,
really.
Okay, so yeah, that was one piece of it. Alex Cox joins in a little later. So that was one piece of the atheists just have no foundation for meaning in their life, and we're going to talk about that.
And so one of them wears a onesie.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So atheists wear onesies. Okay. Yeah.
An atheist wears a onesie.
Oh, are we going to play the really silly thing Alex says next?
Does he say it right after this?
Ray is, thank you so much for the super chat, Ray. He says the chimp Y chromosomes are only about 20% similar.
Oh, wait, I think it was
very, very similar if we're related to chimps. Which obviously that's kind of referring to what Gregory was talking about.
Okay. Why would that be? Well, we're not going to get into it because you see, this is just another case of them not knowing what the fuck they're talking about, right? We should be very similar if we're the same as, we're related to chimps. We should be just really, really similar. Like if we're related to fish, we should be really similar to fish.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they have this picture in their head of like some transition of a, fish going one generation to the next from being a fish underwater to being a land animal.
Yeah.
A fish with actual human legs sticking out of it, walking up on the beach.
Right.
A fish gets pregnant, boobies pop out, and then it gives birth to a wolf. Right.
I mean, I don't know, like even without even thinking about the science of it or anything, it just kind of tickles me when they try so hard, oh, no way, could we be related to, apes or, I mean, and then just
or
like
strawberries. SFT likes strawberries for some reason.
Well, even a strawberry, but what I'm saying is like the apes and then other mammals that have similar features to us. I just have like this idea in my head, like, okay, so we all die and we find out we've been wrong this whole time. There is some fucking sky wizard up there. And then, and then he says to his, the Christians when they die, like, oh, hey, you know what? Yeah, of course you're related to fucking apes. Like, just look at an ape next to you. Like, look at the ears, look at the teeth, look at the, that's something you got wrong, dumbasses.
Oh, you got a Frankenfurter outfit. Oh, yes. we have to get you. We have to hook you up with Maddox. Maybe Debate Cafe would be a good choice for that debate.
Frank, really, like he's Like,
Yeah, Nerdy Rodent's comment here. Exactly.
what's the baseball team that has the sausage races? Like in the 6th inning, you run around the diamond.
I don't know what a baseball team is, so
Oh, you don't? Okay.
no, not sure. Is that the one where they play with the pill-shaped ball that looks like a barbiturate, or is that the one?
Well, no, it's like like they have a 7th inning stretch and they sing, take me out to the ball game. Well, in like Milwaukee or something like that, there's like the 6th inning stretch. Like these guys come out in sausage costumes and race around the track. Never heard of that?
No, but I got to see that shit.
Well, they're obviously atheists who have no foundation, so they live unstable lives and wear sausage outfits.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You couldn't get a theist to wear a sausage outfit.
No. Okay. Where are we?
Talking about. I agree with you completely. I mean, it's the other thing that I find so fascinating about the supposed modern educated Evos, Evo atheists on YouTube, is they don't seem to want to accept that even if it's as similar as they claim. You were talking about something like 36 million base pair differences.
There we go.
Which is an astronomical number.
Which is 1.125%.
Right.
Denominator.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. This was not denial. But okay, up next we got.
See, he did the math in his head and he realized he made a mistake.
I mean, just to make the point that no one is saying all these millions of nucleotide differences came from single point mutations.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a combination of factors. Like,
well, fuck, especially with chimpanzees, there's just all sorts of duplications going on.
Yeah.
And then we got the jumping genes.
Yep.
And then we got the Y chromosome craziness that goes on with chimpanzees, particularly, and all that shit. I mean, it's just like, yeah. But they're just leaving out a whole lot of details when they talk like this. So.
Alex, good to see you. Talk to the one.
Oh, it's Alex. Oh, Alex Cox is here.
Hey, Snake was right in chat.
I was just going to say that, but I keep repeating the word denominator. What I mean is, like, how many nucleotides are we dealing with in total? And that's what matters.
Well, it isn't like the number of nucleotides. It's what everything does and how everything creates an embryo. How everything works to create a phenotype and create the biochemistry that happens. That's the important part. And that is just, that isn't something that's mechanical or like a fucking machine. It's just a very nuanced thing. And you have to learn a fuck ton to figure out what's really going on. Most measuring baseball differences. He count the entire fused chromosome as a difference.
He said he meant base pair differences.
Oh, okay.
I was like, why do you mean baseball? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought he was.
The big baseball is called a softball. And
right.
The smaller one is called the baseball.
I thought it was called a golf ball. Okay, I'm so confused. Okay, I don't do sports. Sport. Okay, okay. Alex Cox is coming in. Let's see what he has to say.
Not much logical. What's going on, brother? Well, self-debasement is a requirement for all paganism. So you have to cut yourself.
This is the guy that got.
You gotta.
This is the guy that got fired by Kent Hovind.
Oh.
He wasn't good enough for the Hovind organization.
Right.
That's.
Okay. Okay, I'll go back.
Not much logical. What's going on, brother? Well, self-debasement is a requirement for all paganism. So you have to cut yourself. You gotta, stuff a fat pig and do your Easter egg hunts and all the other stuff. Whatever they tell you gotta do in the little script and all that.
You gotta stuff a fat pig.
Yeah, you didn't do that in college, man?
I didn't stuff a fat pig, no.
Yeah, whoever stuffs the fattest pig wins the contest.
Stuff the fattest pig. You actually got an actual pig and you shove stuff up its ass.
No, it's you go when you're in college. Like everybody goes out. It's whoever picks up the fattest chick and.
Oh no! Don't go there. I thought you got an actual pig. I don't. Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. Ned Beatty.
Methodology or whatever it is. I have no idea. But self-debasement is a huge thing if you look at what the Israelites were told not to do. So that's one of the reasons for atheists. They have no. I think they're just against life. To be honest with you, I think they hate their lives. That's because without God, you really don't have any moral base.
Once again, he named one guy who wore a onesie in a debate with him.
Yeah. So, okay, let me get this right now. Us atheists hate our lives. Yet they're always talking about how flawed we are and how dirty we are and how sinful we are until we come to Jesus. So, I mean, who exactly hates their lives, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they have a thought, they're afraid that they're going to hell and they're going to burn in eternity forever. I mean, really? We hate our lives? Come on, dude. It's just like, I don't know what the fuck. Anyway.
Because, as you know, there is only one that's good, and it ain't us. It's only God.
Here, there you go. Okay. Do you see what he just did? He said, we hate our lives, but then he said, none of us are any good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who the fuck hates their life? What is he talking about?
Could you imagine, wallowing in the mire like the prodigal son, but you have nowhere to go back to? It's just, it's very interesting. I just can't, I don't understand where they come off with all these false facts, false figures that they heard on some whatever, read out of their textbook. And I do blame academics.
False facts that we read in our textbook.
Okay, so
things,
right, yeah, that was so succinct and exact how he gave you the data there. Just the point he was trying to make. Like, what the fuck was he trying to say there? We do what?
We read all these false facts out of our textbook, like the part that told us that 2 + 2 is 2, 2 + 3 is 5. All them false facts.
Yeah, everyone knows academia is dogma.
Oh yeah, here it goes.
Because they're taught to the test, and if you don't pass the test, you don't pass the class.
If you don't know how to do arithmetic, you don't get to pass the class.
Write the right. I never mentioned this, but in my philosophy class, I should have been published.
Oh, this is fun.
And I did it on basically the against abortion, and the dean brought me in and he said, "I gave you an 89." I said, "Oh, that's great." And he goes, "Well, I should have given you a 91, but I couldn't, because then you'd be published." Is that freaking nuts or what?
What the fuck is he talking about?
Oh, he's making up a fucking story. It's like we love to make up stories about, what some teacher
was published. What?
He said that, he did a dissertation in his philosophy class, and he should have had the paper published. But
that's not where papers are published.
I know. Well, apparently they had some rule that if you didn't get a 91, that's what he's claiming. If you didn't get a 91, you couldn't get it published. I don't know.
Well, and how did he do his philosophy dissertation on abortion?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I've been, over on that website, what is it, the SEP, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and I don't remember in the table of contents seeing that section.
Yeah. The abortion
philosophy. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they didn't have a bunch of papers on it, but do they? Well, no, we're not going to. Okay. So I wonder if we can do it.
In other words, our bullshit detector just went beep.
Yeah, it went beep. Okay, so I'm not sure. We got to jog ahead here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I thought you were saying that the few little things we just listened to tied right into the other video.
They do, and
or do you want to finish this up first before?
Yeah, I think we should finish this up first because that's a whole deep discussion. So,
well, actually, I watched it. I made it all the way through at 2x speed. I was going to do it, but
Atheist Junior.
It just astonished me how there was almost zero substance of
his argument he put out there: nipples, therefore evolution.
That is that is a funny thing.
I don't know. Are they talking about Atheist Junior or are they talking about Wade? I'm not sure at this point. I'm just moving ahead here.
Nipples, therefore evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty simplistic, but
yeah.
Okay.
And Bold as a Lion's making this point here. Says Wade was supposedly a mechanical engineer with a big grin. I mean, I was thinking that throughout the debate, especially when he kept asking how much time was left. I was cracking up. I think he asked how much time was left. It left. I was cracking up.
Mechanical engineers are a fray above. These guys have to follow the exact diagram of whatever they're putting together with a CNC machine. Right? I know a guy supplies parts for CNC machines. If he's off by a micro,
and that's why I am convinced that the average.
What the fuck is going on?
I'm jumping ahead. I'm just fucking. I'm trying to skip the boring shit.
So the guy who makes parts for a CNC machine is that he can't be a micro off. What
I don't know what he was
saying. What does he mean? I mean,
he's talking about mechanical engineers have to be really a grade above everybody else or some fucking thing. It's just
if you were a believer and you had a foundation, then you wouldn't really, because God would have those microns for you.
Right. Okay. Now here, I think Maddox has that thing to say about evil atheists.
And that's why I am convinced that the average person, the Evo atheist on YouTube, they haven't actually gone down the proverbial rabbit hole into what is actually happening from the nano machine perspective, right?
Right.
And the requirements of precision and the examples of the most extreme precision possible from the laws of physics perspective, right? And then they claim that it's not well designed. It's I hate to break it to you, genius, but it literally there's different aspects of different mechanisms inside the human body.
Okay, hold on for just a second. Pause it. Yeah. Who's he referring to as a genius?
Evil atheists?
People in general. People in general.
So all atheists are geniuses? Is that what he's trying to?
Well, he's saying it sarcastically.
Okay, I gotcha.
You fucking geniuses. A
lot of generalizations.
How come you can't see this? Yeah. Can't you see? Just look at it. It's designed. That's basically his argument. It looks designed. So therefore,
I think we
designed.
might have to retract one of our statements there. Apparently, dissertations do get published. They just not necessarily make it into journals. But
okay, if you take a philosophy class in college, you don't necessarily do a dissertation. Where the hell's it get published?
Okay, even if it does, it gets published in some publication that the college itself puts out, or it gets
school newspaper,
sent out around. Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter, but what he said was bullshit, because you're going, I gave you an 89. I would have given you a 91, but then you would have been published. That's the threshold.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't appreciate his conservative stance, so they gave him an 89 instead of a 91.
Yeah, but isn't that post-grad work? I mean, when you're talking about 4-year college where you take a philosophy class, none of that shit happens, does it? I mean, there's no dissertations published.
Well, if it depends on some honors programs, like in at the bachelor's level, you have to do some sort of thesis, some sort of public, big paper.
Yeah.
Master's degree, there's a thesis, So it may be something like that, like he didn't quite get high enough to be published in a journal.
Skyworks here is pointing out something that's pretty important that my mommy and daddy should have told me. God damn it! Is that what happened?
What? Most children what?
This is some revolutionary stuff, man.
Yeah, most children do.
When a
Most.
man interacts with a woman.
I'm not sure what the context was. They're sorry scars. Anyway.
Yeah, like.
Where we at? Okay. We're going to skip ahead to this Alex from VA or whatever, A from VA. I was hoping he would show up because this is some bullshit. This is the part that got me excited.
So I wasn't able to watch the debate live, but I spent the last half an hour watching the first half an hour of the debate. And so far, I think this is actually one of the absolute worst defenders of evolution I've ever seen in my life. This is like the level of defense of evolution, like a 7th grade, biology, middle school student would give. Definition.
Now, if you were debating Kent Hovind, what else could you do?
Right. Well, doesn't he go like the 4th grade level? I thought that was his whole spiel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with Kent Hovind, there's no way you're going to get him to dig into anything, right?
Yeah.
So what else would you do? That's why
it's kind of hard to specifically dig into to specific topics when you throw out, basically 20 or 25 different fucking things, when you get 5 minutes to talk. Like, he just rattles on and on. And this leads to that, and that leads to this. And,
never seen a dog.
It's like, that's why Aaron Ra was so brilliant when he fucking debated him that one time. And every time Kent Hovind said something that was just completely batshit insane, Aaron Ra stopped him right there and corrected
him. Nailed him, yeah.
He didn't like that.
That was something that Hovind still talks about.
Oh, yeah.
He really got his ass handed to him.
Because, he had a count on it. I can't remember what it was, but it was like, he interrupted me 283 times. Or
exactly.
Like that.
Do you know why, bozo?
Yeah.
Anyway, every time he said something stupid, 283 things. Let's see.
Of evolution changed over time. Inheritable characteristics in biological populations over successive generations. So basically what he's just saying is there's variations in successive generations.
Yeah.
And that is just something that no one even comes close to denying.
Yep.
That's not the type of evolution.
Yep. That's why we keep telling you that you accept evolution, you just don't know it.
Well, because they propose, there are limits, and like Kent Hovind always brings up like the cow jumping over the moon or whatnot. But those are, I always say, these are physical limits. Like what they need to show is a mechanistic limit, a physical mechanism that could limit genetic variation to begin with.
Yep. Yeah, I can't wait to use that cow jumping over the moon thing.
It can get more and more different over time and just spread apart.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the thing is too is like, okay, so evil evolution, all life is related. That's so outrageous to them from their standpoint. Well, no, God created everything. Well, wait a minute. So whatever mechanism your God used to create everything, so he made every specific thing out of whole cloth and it was all different, or since the creator made everything and things look similar and made out of the same materials and stuff, wouldn't you be related anyway, even if you don't accept evolution? You know what I mean? Like, if God created everything and he's the source from which all this life came from, then that would make life related exclusive of evolution.
I don't know if you could say it's like all genetically related, but you could say like we have a common origin in that scenario. Like it's kind of the same feeling.
Yeah, I mean, when you could say kind of genetically similar, if once you were able to show the mechanism by which God creates things, it might be that he takes like a little piece of himself and transforms it into the things he's trying to create.
Well, if God wanted a cow to jump onto the moon, he could do that.
Yeah, and it's so funny. And then like the theists and that, like now we just like batted that back and forth over the last 20 seconds, and that's more imagination than a lot of shit they're trying to claim. Like if you're gonna have imagination, at least have the imagination. Yeah, God created us, and all we are is we're like his fucking toenail clippings.
Yep. So this guy, this A from VA, he doesn't seem like a bad guy at all. And he asks questions and stuff. But anyway, we'll listen to it for a minute.
Finding his term as something that literally no one even questions. Then he went into similarities in DNA, the 98, which is just an absolute. Again, these are things that have been debunked over and over again.
No, they haven't.
They mean even if they were the numbers they give, like 98% were correct, which they're not. It doesn't demonstrate evolution.
They are correct. It's just more nuanced than you think it is.
Analysis was a point.
Doesn't demonstrate evolution. I don't know about demonstrating, but it's evidence.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's not. The genetic tree, when you look at the morphological trees they constructed before DNA started to be sequenced, there are all kinds of problems that are presented by the genetic analysis of the different organisms. The tree of life has completely fallen apart.
Really?
Okay, yeah, that's one. Okay, we get to talk.
Really?
Yeah. Well, and then he talks about it like it's this one monolithic thing. You Google search tree of life, and it's going to show you
this complete whole image.
Yeah, like it's going to show you like the all the way from the beginning of time up till now, and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what he's referring to is things like what is it, like birds and crocodiles, the similarity, and we've made a lot of changes now that we're doing molecular genetics and we've refined it.
Right.
But as far as I know, there's no big falling apart. In fact, what it's doing is it's really coming together now.
Right. It's a refining of the existing relationships is what it is, because like you don't see these broader relationships falling apart. You see kind of the rearrangement on more lesser taxa,
right?
Or like no one's saying like we got it wrong, crocodiles are actually closer to lizards or something. No one's saying that. Like within mammals, for example, this is the example off the top of my head, you get some of the rearrangements of Afropheria and Xenarthra and all the other major placental mammal groups, in terms of this major group isn't exactly related to this one the way we thought it was, but no one's saying like, never mind, whales are actually closer to manatees or something like that.
Well, I mean, and the thing that they're balking at is the idea that, all right, so science had this framework to begin with because they had evolutionary theory and and this group was related to that. Okay, but then they came up with down the line a better methodology by which to check their right in the DNA aspect of it, and then so they that's why it's all science is provisional. I mean, so and he's saying it's like it's a bad thing. They came up with this other methodology. Okay, now we can look at the DNA and really know which life forms are related, and they're acting as if the fact that they went back and corrected the errors is like a bad thing.
I will note that most people I've talked to, or at least most of what I've seen, it is generally acknowledged that molecular phylogenies are kind of not necessarily better, but they're often more informative than morphological trees. And that's not to say, I think it is an extreme point of view to say, morphological phylogenies are therefore irrelevant. Of course they're not. It's rather what kind of maybe Nestler or someone else here can put a different way.
Well, the thing is, we're dealing with fossil evidence, even if it's molecular, even if it's genetics. There's still fossil evidence in that one base could change to another base and then change back again. So there are those kind of problems. But the thing is that the more data we put together, the better statistics we get on these relationships. And the only place
also,
go ahead.
You go finish you first, and
the only place I think we're having some issues yet between archaea and bacteria, and way back, like back to the point where things are really, really hard to work out.
Yeah.
Right. We're not confused about like lineages of like modern like what he's saying about the different groups of mammals and stuff. That's not, there's not a lot of confusion there. So when you get back into these simple organisms where things didn't reproduce quite the way we see things now, and they shared DNA, horizontal gene transfer, and all this stuff that was happening a lot more prominently back in that time.
Yeah.
There's also the issue of evolving really peculiar characteristics that sets different lineages apart from other lineages. Like, for example, you mentioned the 4 supergroups of placental mammals, the Ephotheres, the Xenarthrans, and also the Eucomptoglires and such. Yes, like I've seen a paper that discusses the morphological evolution, and it turns out that the ancestors of these supergroups of placental mammals looked very much alike. They like since their common ancestor, they did not evolve significantly different characteristics, and that is why morphology cannot be used to distinguish these different groups.
By itself, it's not as informative.
Yeah. All of those lineages, they have these basal shrew-like ancestors too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when you're dealing with phylogenetics, you can make pretty good predictions if there was a speciation event, and then for a long time those 2 branches existed. But if you have 2 speciation events in a row, real quickly to a short time, then it becomes a little foggy, and sometimes we have to adjust. And at some point, there are some things we may never be able to say for sure. But of course, science isn't about fucking proving shit. It's about coming up with the best.
But that's what you get after an extinction event. You have these punctuated rapid speciation periods where there's going to be, they'll evolve and evolve again quickly. A clade will as they move into different environments and spread out.
Yeah, but that makes genetic signals really difficult sometimes because of incomplete lineage sorting.
Yeah,
and things of that nature.
Though you got to account for that, and
and then the other problem is there's always a possibility that some llama is going to cross the mountain and breed with that other species at some point. So you're going to have a little bit of crossover occasionally.
Yeah.
So I mean, it becomes so if there's rapid speciation, the phylogenetics becomes a very difficult statistic to be absolutely certain of.
Well, I saw an article the other day that I just skimmed. I didn't read the whole thing because it was more like, your guys' kind of style. But the gist of it was that they were saying that now they're seeing that there was many different human species in the beginning, not just Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. That there was many of them, and they interbred. And then in the end, it ended up being the Homo sapiens, but that it wasn't just, the few that they thought to begin with. There was like lots of different ones.
Yeah. Yeah, you get like you said, the humans and the Neanderthals, and you get your Denisovians or Denisovans, or however you prefer to say it. I've heard it said a couple different ways.
Denisovans, yeah.
Yeah, I like the red-eared cave people, but we really haven't heard too much about them in the last 10 years, so that's kind of sad. I was hoping they would make a bigger splash, but the Denisovans or Denisovans, they are finding new stuff about them all the time.
One last point I want to make on this subject of phylogenetics is there's a very big difference between like what we're talking about here, which is refining the tree, where initially we don't have these large scale branches quite as resolved as we'd hope or as we'd like. There's a big difference between that and what we would not expect of evolution, which is these highly supported branches that are significantly or statistically contradictory with each other, discordant with each other. Those are not the same thing. We're seeing the former case here. We're not seeing the latter.
Yeah. And we were talking yesterday privately, I think, about I picked a random sign in the middle of an intron in some gene which I randomly picked, and then I went out and got a chimp, a gorilla, and a human, and I found a basically the pattern, exactly what we expected it to be.
Yeah.
And I picked one random sign out of 1.1 million of them.
Although I think that there was actually a research that's found that like 30% of our genome is more similar to the gorillas because of incomplete lineage sorting. So,
oh, really?
So yeah. So you have to be careful about picking one intron like that. So it's although I think regarding protein coding sequences, it's almost pretty much more similar to the chimpanzee lineages, but regarding the overall DNA of the entire genome, like about 30% is.
Oh, Nestle, I got something for you that I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but do you know about the pubic lice, the gorilla?
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. Oh my God, I love that so much. That blows
Yeah.
people's minds.
Yeah, but anyway, with this particular sign, okay, I picked a sign and I checked to see they're in the same position in the gorilla and the chimp and the human, and then I looked at the SNPs in between those signs, and you can be pretty damn sure if it's in the same spot that you're going to see that pattern over and over and over again. And I suspect that 9 out of 10 of them would fall into that pattern. I'm going to try to do more of them, or come up with a program to do a bunch of them.
Yeah, probably most of them, but certainly not all of them.
Yeah, and it was in the very beginning of the intron, and it was a part that's not likely to be any kind of useful non-coding RNA or anything like that. And so you can be pretty sure that you're going to see mutational. You're going to see a mutational clock in those things, and
Right.
you can see that difference. But anyway, just pick a random one and go ahead and check it out if you don't believe it. Okay,
I will say, well, sorry, I lied. One last thing would be if you were to say pick a random sign and it was kind of discordant with some of this other genetic data, it's this is something that creationists, it seems, have a hard time understanding. Is it's a inherently statistical measurement, like like bootstrap values, for example, your confidence in the relationships you're getting. If you're getting a discordant value and it's relatively low bootstrap value, then it's not necessarily as significant as, say, a discordant value. This is what I was saying earlier, that has a high bootstrap value, which would be kind of you would need to do further research on.
Yeah, and there are perfectly reasonable mechanisms as to why once in a while it's going to fail.
Yeah, once in a while, yeah.
I mean, it's just shit. So I jumped ahead in the video here, and I'm not sure where I'm at, but for some reason I bookmarked this. So, but we're getting to chromosome 2.
Oh, goody.
And that's probably about as far as we're going to get.
Sure.
Right. So I was expecting, a debate on evolution should be the descent from a universal common ancestor over long periods of time by mutation and natural selection. So that's kind of how I think he should have defined it. And the similarities in DNA, and you talked about this a little bit earlier, is such a horrible, outdated argument. I'm so surprised they keep, this is the thing, these people keep using these arguments. They don't even I feel like they're just using talking points that have been refuted definitively, but they didn't.
How do you refute the similarity in DNA as evidence for common ancestry? What is he talking about?
I mean, granted, the actual argument, as we've been talking about here, is a bit more complicated, but
right. But I mean, if you find similarity in DNA, that is evidence for the hypothesis of common descent.
Right.
And you can't refute that. That hasn't been refuted. I don't know what they think they've refuted that because they said, oh, well, God could have made him similar because
right.
he wanted the monkey to look like the man for some reason.
Yeah.
He wanted Adam to have a pet that looked a lot like him.
Or the other common response is because we share so many morphological features in common, therefore we should have similar genetics, which is not necessarily the case.
Yeah, what kind of perverted shit was God thinking about when he created the other primates?
Well, right. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, we're gonna, God, comes out and he says, well, yeah, you dumbasses, I made them monkeys so you'd have something to fuck.
Oh, no. Thank you, John.
Well, I think it's more like I think they need something to eat their face. Let's make a chimpanzee, because that's really what chimpanzees are doing, eating people's faces.
Yep.
And going to war.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if there's another point there, but I'm going to jockey ahead a little bit here.
Don't have a PhD or whatever in biology, and are just regurgitating the biology 101 talking points they learned in their freshman year in college, and have done zero investigation of it.
Freshman year of college is biology 101.
What cracks me up about that is,
yeah, didn't he start by saying the person had a biology degree?
Oh, he's talking about how he is so superior and he's read so many more papers.
Yeah.
For example, go on like Open MIT, Harvard X, etc., and go
listen to some videos.
Take the time to go and watch
the time.
The lectures from like a biology 101 class.
Yeah, like none of us have done that. Biology 101.
Because everyone knows Google University is the top one out there.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
John,
well, I was going to say in biology 101, wouldn't that have been in high school?
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah, today it's probably
about.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, he made that point about how much more brilliant these creationists are than the scientists that are writing the papers that the creationists are using as evidence. I can't get over that one. How they pick on the scientists that are writing the papers that they're cherry picking for evidence. I just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that part where we're getting a chromosome 2.
And so you actually started to question it. Like I remember the moths, the black moths and the white moths.
The fucking moths.
How they started with a certain population ratio.
Yeah, fuck, I don't want to talk about moths.
Now that's biology 101 right there.
Yeah. Were we going to go to their video at some point?
At some point we are. Just don't get documentation on it.
We are going to get the funny chromosome 2 thing at some point, right?
Okay, now this is the gem. This is the crowning achievement of this whole stream.
All right, everyone, listen to this. Get ready.
I do have a legitimate question though. When they're talking about chimps and human DNA similarity, I know that humans and chimps have different numbers of chromosomes. But they say that 2 of them fused and formed one for the human species. Now, they'll say that if you look at chromosome 2 and 3, they align with the one for human. Is that actually true? Has anyone ever actually looked and seen whether these actually align?
It's not true. It's the vitamin C thing that they try to debunk, because chimps don't need vitamin C. Humans need vitamin C. Most animals, like billy goats, they can eat a tin can and produce their own vitamin C. So somewhere humans lost the ability to create their own vitamin C. That's what it's based on. Did the dude before this dude, did he just use the argument, were you there?
It sounded like when he was describing that, like, did you actually see the chromosomes?
Oh no!
When they
He was asking a question, and then Alec Dix comes up with the GULO gene, which is on chromosome 8, by the way.
Right.
And oh no, it's not true. They're just talking about vitamin C. No, they aren't. No. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was expressing my surprise.
Okay, every now and then I stand up right out of my fucking armchair and I say, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, we could have avoided all that nasty scurvy if we could make our own vitamin C.
Yeah.
It's
what is he talking about? Only humans have this defunct GULO pseudogene. Like what?
No,
I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Right.
It's all haplorhymes. So all rhinos, primates have this GULO pseudogenization.
But not prosimians,
also other mammal groups that have, or other animals that have lost the GULO gene.
Yeah.
Although we share the same genetic mutations in that gene as the other apes, so why do we have that?
The other pseudogenes and other mammals, they're different mutations for some odd reason.
Okay, so this is chimp chromosome 2A in blue on the right, and chimp chromosome 2B in green, and then in the middle we have the human genes, and these are genes that are very homologous, almost identical. These lines that go across on the right, okay?
Yeah.
But then if we go to the mouse, okay, we see all of these like angles where it's pointing up and down. So when we go to the mouse, very, very, there's a lot of differences. Yet there's still kind of a mapping, but it's all over the place, right? But this is what they're talking about as synteny in the human and chimp chromosome 2 and 2A and 2B, right? And right at the middle where you see the blue meet the green, that is the putative joining spot of the two chromosomes, right? And I have information up above that shows you that there are a bunch of defunct or degenerated telomeres at that location. And what they never show you is this. Now, if you look at the entire chromosome 2 and 2A and 2B, I had to make it a lot narrower, but you can see how those lines are all horizontal on the right side between the human and the chimp, and it goes all the way down. So, I mean, that's it. That is the fucking evidence. And that's why that's why they renamed the chimp chromosomes 2A and 2B, because nobody anywhere in biology that has half of a brain would deny that there was a fusion of that. And what kills me is that it isn't even necessary for creationists to argue about this, because they can say that it happened after Adam somewhere, and they don't have to deny it. Yet they want to deny.
But the reason they deny it is because evolution cannot have an accurate prediction. That's all.
Right.
That's the problem that they have with it.
But it drives.
Because everyone knows evolution doesn't make any accurate predictions.
Well, right, and see, I've been saying all along, and I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but why don't they just embrace all of it, and then they can just at the end of the day say, and that's how God did it.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me, like why they argue all these, point by point, when at the end of the day, I mean, and I'm sorry to be this pejorative, they believe in a magician, and they can just, they can accept all of this evidence and all of the science that's been proven. And then just at the very end, well, that's how God did it.
Okay, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but you see those little colored lines, right? So at the very top, okay, they talk about this highly functional gene.
Is it protein alignment?
What's that?
Is this protein or amino acid sequence alignment?
It's an amino acid sequence alignment, okay, with DDX11 and DDX11LP. Or L2.
L2, yeah.
Okay, DDX11L2 is the highly functional gene that they found at the fusion site, right? And they're saying that it crosses the fusion site because way off to the right, there's one exon that just happened to come from one chromosome, and the rest of the gene comes from another chromosome. And they're claiming functionality. And there are like 3 papers in the world on this DDX11L2 gene, and none of them indicate functionality. One of them, they're all about some disease that is sort of related. But now, if you look at these genes, the DDX11 gene, which is a real gene, it's not a pseudogene, on top is from the rat. Okay, the next one is, let's see, I think that's, oh no, the second one's a rat. The third one, the little tiny thing you see on the right, that's DDX11L2. It doesn't even have any of the active domains from the normal DDX11 gene. The DDX11 gene, I forget what it does, but it has 9 domains in it that all have active sites that do something. They're all to the left of this goddamn thing on the right. So it can't, if it's functional, I'll eat my fucking hat. They made an offer that, you know, if you don't think it's functional, agree to have it removed. Well, I will. Pay me $100.
Even worse, even if it was functional, that doesn't refute the fusion at all. Like, why would, like, they think that if it's a fusion event, then it cannot be functional. But those two are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
Like, why did the creator put this one functional element but have to do the whole fusion elsewhere also?
Well, what they're claiming is based on the one exon. Let's see, there's one exon over here on the right. Where the fuck is it? Okay, you can see there's one exon way over on the right. You can't see my cursor. It says DDX.
I cannot see. No, I can't see the cursor. No, I think
the fusion site is between the exons on the left, which are blue lines, solid blue lines, and that little tiny blue line on the right. And there's absolutely no reason why when you frequently have little tiny exons on the right that end up being in the same mRNA. It just, like, basically it'll jump the gene and it'll start encoding from some other gene, basically, like an exon that's just laying out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
it happens.
You have two transcripts right there. You see like 2 lines and with different. The top 10 transcript does not have the extra exon, but the second transcript does have the extra exon.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, like somebody did an alignment with the second transcript to other DDX11 gene families, and what they show is that the extra exon it does not belong in the family.
No,
it's a completely an alien. Like like a strange little thing that doesn't belong really there in the DDX11 family of genes.
Yeah, what you're looking at right here are the degraded telomere. Okay, that's right in the middle. So I highlighted those in orange, and then down here we have. Oh, let's see, where did I have my little gene diagram? You can see that basically that exon on the right does not match up with the same colors. I'd have to blow it up. But anyway, yeah, if you do an alignment, it's not even part of that gene. It just happened to work that way because that's how this shit works. When you jumble up the genome, you're going to end up with some stray exons in it. So anyway, this thing about there being no, I don't know what the fuck Tompkins is going on about. I don't know how he could possibly, does he have a PhD? They should really take it away from him for some of the bullshit that he's done based on this chromosome 2 stuff. But anyway, that was the part that really got to me. So, and that was it. I think there's some more garbage here. Then they went off on politics and then they had this big fucking shitstorm at the end about once saved, always saved, or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the Christian just tore into each other, and that was the rest.
It got pretty heated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always seem to battle over like they battle over the Trinity. They battle over, just like these dogmatic fine points that,
Yep.
like you said, they eat one another alive. Like
Well,
once
kind of,
saved, always saved. Once saved, always saved. I wish I'd heard that.
Oh, Germania is going to do conservatives who hate wokeness. That's a great one. That's really a good one.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to be conservative to hate wokeness, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because to me, when you say wokeness, okay, it's good to be woke, but when you use the term wokeness, to me, that's like the people that have gone to the nth degree with it and are kind of like militant about it. You know, like militant. You know, like how some vegans are militant about vegan, like that kind of thing.
Yep.
I don't like when somebody says woke, it can mean literally anything. It's just a meaningless derogatory term at this point. Like basically, when somebody says, "Oh, they have this woke," then they are basically saying like, "Oh, I don't like what they are saying." That's all they are saying when they say that.
Is anybody familiar with Bo from the Fifth Column?
Nope.
Oh, from the Fifth Column. You mean?
I've heard of him,
YouTube,
and I think I've seen a couple of his videos.
The YouTube channel.
Yeah, yeah.
And he usually does his videos usually in his garage, doesn't he?
Yep. And he's like in this one, he basically was asking his conservative viewer, when was the last time you changed your mind on anything? And the guy told him, well, never. and he goes on about that, and he explains why being proud of the fact that you've never changed your mind is kind of fucking silly.
Yeah.
And basically, I'll link that. But there's Bo. But before we leave everything else, we want to point out that Andrew Cumming was blocked, and basically they took this post down in Standing for Truth's channel, and now they blocked him in chat, so he can't even chat.
I'm shadow blocked again.
Right. And this whole thing is there's nothing disrespectful in it. He just, goes in and talks about the science. And for some reason, SFT or Raw Nap, the fruit bat, couldn't stand it.
Someone.
Andrew, I think your facts cause them to fear.
Fear.
I appreciate that.
They fear the facts.
I do seem to notice, like, I'm not trying to, like, become hubristic or anything here, but, like, it does seem some of these creations do get triggered by my presence.
They do. And they're triggered by anybody that knows what they're talking about.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Whereas here at Answers on Atheism, we are always just delighted by your presence.
That's right. Yep.
Well, I also say here, or for people who actually want to learn, it's good to have someone who's smarter than you in your presence.
Yep.
And that could be like an actual scientist or a graduate student, or just like, you don't have to act the way you do.
Nephilim Free doesn't really have a problem with that. So when you say that,
it's really easy for me to do that. I just anywhere I go where there's other human beings, then there's people that are smarter than me around me. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't play too much of this, and this may get the video taken down, so I may have to edit it out. Any parts that I play. So I guess maybe we should play the gist of it.
I don't think that's going to happen to you, but
okay. But John brought this to us, so
okay.
What's that?
Okay, somebody in the chat. You guys let anyone in? Is he asking to be to come in or in the chat? I don't know.
I think he's something like you let anyone who you want in, or I don't know.
Yeah, we let anybody in. So
sure.
Anyway.
But so anyway, I had seen this, and I sent this over to Speed was the first person I thought of, because it's kind of like some Buddhistic kind of thoughts here, and I thought of him, and so I sent him this, and it's part of an interview with, if you guys don't know who this Stephen Colbert guy is, everybody pretty much does, but it's only 6 minutes long. The part, like I can't even remember the exact point where Anderson Cooper asked that question, because you could actually jump ahead like to maybe the 3 or 4 minute mark.
Okay, let me set it up a little bit. So Colbert is a Christian, and he has really strong faith, I believe. Okay.
Right, yeah.
And both of these guys have experienced very early loss and trauma in their lives. I think they both lost. Didn't Colbert lose his brothers and father?
Oh, no.
Like, yeah, they're like in a plane crash, like when he was like maybe 14 or 15 years old. Yeah, they died in a plane crash.
Yeah.
And then Anderson Cooper's mother recently died, and then there was somebody else. I don't know. But I mean,
he lost a brother too. I think he mentioned something, but
well, and then the gist of what they're going to talk about later is that all human beings have experienced this loss. But,
yeah. Yep.
But if you find it's like maybe 3 or 4 minutes in, where it's Anderson's on screen asking a question to him.
Oh, let's see. Right here, maybe?
Yeah, right there. Stop it right about there. Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it.
Who are in such times. You told an interviewer that you have learned to, in your words, love the thing that I most wish had not happened.
I remember.
You went on to say, "What punishments of God are not gifts?" Do you really believe that?
He's having trouble talking, isn't he?
Right, he was kind of breaking up on that because he's thinking of his own loss. But go ahead and keep going, because it's the next part is kind of interesting where he first answers him.
Yes.
See, stop it right there. Okay, now. Remember when I first brought this to you and I said, hey, the ideas they talk about after that question are, useful ideas, exclusive of, the fact that they come from his religious beliefs. And, but right there where he answers the question with a yes before he goes on to qualify it, just that look on his face, that little grin, and it scares the shit out of me. It's like he looks like this kind of zealot, like yes, I believe that, I don't know, that's just the way it looks to me. Of course, then he goes on to say some very sage things, and he's obviously not some zealot. But go ahead.
Gift to exist. It's a gift to exist, and with existence comes suffering. There's no escaping that. And I guess I'm either a Catholic or a Buddhist when I say those things, because I've heard those from.
That's where you said Buddhist. So
yeah, well, and that suffering.
This isn't fucking easy for me to listen to either.
Both traditions, but I didn't learn it. That I was grateful for the thing I most wish hadn't happened. Is that I realized it. Mm-hmm. Is that. And it's an oddly guilty feeling.
It doesn't mean you are happy.
I don't want it to have happened. I want it to not have happened.
Right.
But if you are grateful for your life, which I think is a positive thing to do, not everybody is, right. And I'm not always, but it's the most positive thing to do, then you have to be grateful for all of it. You can't.
Well, can you stop for a second there?
Yeah.
And we should probably, I mean, here's the thing. And the nice thing about that is now, of course, when he talks about his gratitude, he's grateful to his God. But you don't have to have God to have gratitude. Okay. You can be grateful for the mere fact that you exist, the whole,
yeah, grateful is a feeling. It's not gratitude to somebody or
right.
Thanking some person or some intelligence. It's just fucking gratitude. It's a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, and you can, feel gratitude towards someone, and I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, but that he is, when he speaks of his gratitude, he's talking about he's grateful to God. If he was, asked what he was grateful, who he was grateful to. But yeah, you can have gratitude without being religious, without being grateful to some,
to anything. The point, and this is answers in atheism, right? The very purest form of gratitude is just to have that unbelievable feeling of gratitude without having it pay homage to anything or anybody or any idol. And I think this is kind of what the Christians in the Bible, the original writers of the Bible, were getting at about false idols. That even God would be a false idol. There doesn't have to be, these are pure human feelings. And the purest form of gratitude is to just feel, God damn, I'm thankful I got to exist at all. And not say I'm thankful too.
Yeah, and then he talks too about, existence is a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, again, he's going to say it's a gift that God gave him. But okay, so you want to call it a gift, then that's where your gratitude can come from, is just the sheer fact that you do exist. It's something to be grateful for.
Well, yeah, this is where God is very much like a variable in mathematics. It's like grateful to X. It doesn't matter what the fuck you're grateful to.
Yeah, grateful to X.
Grateful to. It's like I use prayer as a form of meditation, and when my sponsor asked me, "Who do you pray to?" and I said, "I don't pray to, I pray." Period. And that's where it stops. I don't have some false idol in mind that I'm praying to, or asking for favors or any of that bullshit. It's more just a feeling, of letting go, and a feeling of basically succumbing to the nature of my own existence, sort of. Anyway, there's your answers in atheism. Should I go on?
Yeah. Let's finish it up.
And then, so what do you get from loss? You get awareness of other people's loss.
Well, that's true. Empathy.
Which allows you to connect with that other person, right? Which allows you to love more deeply and to understand what it's like to be a human being, if it's true that all humans suffer.
Right.
And so at a young age, I suffered something so that by the time I was in serious relationships in my life with friends or with my wife or with my children, is that I have some understanding that everybody is suffering. And however imperfectly, acknowledge their suffering and to connect with them and to love them in a deep way.
I'll be right back, guys.
That not only accepts that all of us suffer, but also then makes you grateful for the fact that you have suffered, so that you can know that about other people. And that's what I mean. It's about the fullness of your humanity. What's the point of being here and being human if you can't be the most human you can be? I'm not saying best, because you're going to be a bad person and a most human. I want to be the most human I can be. And that involves acknowledging and ultimately being grateful for the things that I wish didn't happen, because they gave me a gift.
Well, one of the things my mom would often say is that she said, I never ask why me. Like, why did this happen to me? She would always say, why not me? Why would me be exempt from what has befallen everybody, countless others over.
Is that about it? Or should we?
I mean, yeah, that's about it. I mean, it's interesting what he's saying now, but yeah, it's I just I mean, I must have watched it like 10 times when I first found it, because it just, to me, like what he's talking about there at the end, and okay, so you hate the thing that happened to you, you hate the suffering that happened because of your loss or whatever, but it did give you insight into your fellow humans, because they've all felt that too at one time or another, or will feel that depending on what stage of their life is in. And with all the ideas he put together there, just make a lot of sense to me. I mean, and without any sense of religion or believing in a God or anything like that. I mean, be grateful for the fact that you even have an existence, and try and connect with your fellow human beings is basically all he's saying. That's what it's about. But they want to connect. Some people want to connect with a made up being in their head rather than the people that are right there with them.
Yeah, like alcoholism and drug abuse has taken a 15 or 20 year bite out of my life, out of my 71 years. The rest of the time was spent sober. And I would not trade that for anything, because I needed to feel all of that pain in order to be who I am right now. And in order to be able to also understand the pain that somebody else is going through in the same position. And I wouldn't trade that. I mean, I would go back and I would say, okay, let me have it all over again. I'll fucking endure it. It makes you who you are, Anyway, it's pretty profound. Pretty cool.
But yeah, I just it just reminded me a lot of like things that Mike has said, that Speed has said, about Buddhism and all that stuff, and Colbert there, he was right. Maybe he is a Buddhist. He says he's a Catholic, but
yeah. Well, there are a lot of Christians that don't get all caught up in, did this happen or did that happen, or is this a factual thing, and they don't get fucking caught up. Certainly don't get caught up in the science of evolution. I mean, they just have a strong faith. They have a strong human faith, which is something that we all can have. Atheists, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, doesn't fucking matter. We are humans and we experience these things. And
well, I mean, and this led me to, thinking of some, different things in the way that I, view other people. And, as far as like what you guys do, like when these theists are getting the science wrong and all that, yeah, you got to call them out. Or if they're saying crazy shit about morality, whatever. But as far as the idea that they believe in this God, I don't really care about that anymore. I mean, because
it's their path.
Yeah. I mean, because what I realized is that, and what they won't admit, and what we all realize is there is no inherent meaning to life. The meaning that life has is the meaning that we as human beings give it.
Right.
So if they have to believe in God for that to be the thing that gives them meaning in their life, knock yourself out. I don't care about that anymore. It's just when you get wrong, like, hey, the sky's purple, that kind of, we're going to call you out on it. But go ahead and believe in whatever you want. I'm not going to get read about what they believe in anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the definition of being human is to construct meaning while you are alive in your life. And we have all these other humans and these other organisms, and they're all constructing their own meaning. And then at some point, we are going to pass away, and we're going to fall back into the matrix or the hole. And it doesn't fucking matter. Meaning is still going to go on being constructed by millions of other people and billions of other organisms.
Or other beings, yeah, who knows?
Other beings. And once you get used to that, it's like, okay, that's fair.
I think be grateful that you had the chance to give life the meaning that you gave it in the first place.
Yeah, and before you existed, you were always going to be. And while you're here, you're constructing meaning. And after you're gone, you will always have been. And that's very profound when you think about that. For infinity of into the future, you will always have been.
Well, and that's kind of different what you're saying. I I mean, how can you get solace from that? Because the fact is that fact exists, whether any other beings know it or not. Like whether 10,000 years from now humanity's gone, the fact that you did exist still remains a fact, even despite the fact that if there was no minds in the universe to have that fact in their brain,
right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and that's how I define eternity. And at the moment you die, you're sort of launched into eternity, because it doesn't make any difference if you're dead for 1 minute or 300 trillion years. It's going to be the same. You still were. And it's really interesting when you start to play with some of that stuff in your mind, and you lose this selfish sense of, oh, I have to wake up every day and do more shit and eat more ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, you completely let all of that go, and it becomes just wonderful. You know,
Well, and that's where I've been going here this past week after I found this video and started thinking all this shit, is that okay? So if I stack my life against the passage of time, okay, so I mean, it just would. I'm like what I said the other day. Like, what's the significance of insignificance? You know, like it's because being insignificant is very significant.
Yeah,
that's true.
I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of paradoxes that you run into in Buddhism, and they're all trying to talk about that same point, that it's like, you know, insignificance turns into great significance and back again, and it's all it's just all like a circular thing, and
it might not be a perfect analogy, but like every earthworm in the dirt is insignificant, but look at what we have around us today.
Right. Yeah. What would we do without them? Yep. Anyway.
Hey,
Leo.
Leo's here. Where's he at?
He's muted. He's muted and he cannot speak.
Well, wait a minute, but he has an avatar up. I thought he's the guy that I thought was always on camera.
He's a Bakil Agrami. A Bill Kill.
Oh, okay. Oh, he has like somebody drew him?
Oh, he probably.
Or is that like some South Park character?
That's a pretty good icon. Anyway, guys, we're getting toward the end here. I'm running out of steam, and Gur has to start. Gur's going to start a really good show on wokeness, which hopefully I can rest up and stop in on.
Gur doesn't start till like 6:30.
6:30? Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't have to go.
6:30 Central?
Yeah, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Oh, okay, because it's past 6:30 we're on, right?
I have a T-bone steak that's buried in onions, and I'm gonna go eat that motherfucker.
Did you already cook it?
We're doing the steak.
We mortgaged a house, and we went out and bought a couple of T-bones.
T-bones.
Mortgaged the house.
Yep.
Yeah. I wheelbarrowed over a bunch of gold to the gas station to get gas for my lawnmower.
$71 to fill my Cadillac up. Holy shit!
Yeah, well, it is a Cadillac, so
I have purchased cars for less than that.
Isn't your Cadillac from 1972 though?
No, well, almost. It's pretty retro, but I was at the pump and I was filling up my car, and the lady next to me. Of course, I always start conversations. I'm one of those people, and I said, you know, my gas. The gas in my tank is now officially worth more than my car.
So, I wanted to ask everybody that's in here, since I obviously came in late, what was this this point that Maddox struggled to make?
Oh, just any point at all.
Maddox but what were you specifically talking about? Which one?
Nothing in particular.
Well, apparently we all wear onesies because we don't have any foundation in life.
Yeah, I don't know what that even means.
Yeah, we're pagans and we like to torture ourselves by wearing onesies or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I found the easiest way to object to the kind of arguments that people like Maddox give?
What?
Is to just ask them, what does that even mean? Like, you said this, that, and the other. What do you mean by that? And then watch them flounder.
He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that.
Well, I mean, it's funny because that's what Scott pointed out, is that he had started by saying, yeah, these darn atheists, and they dress so weird. What's with all these atheists? And then he talked about the one guy he debated that wore a onesie, and that was the only example he had. Scott called it out. He's like, well, all these atheists wear these onesies, and you gave one example. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
One example does not a majority make.
Yeah. Talk about what do you call hasty generalization.
Yeah, exactly.
They were saying that phylogeny was, falling apart.
Oh, yeah,
and,
that too.
And they were saying that chromosome 2 was definitely just totally debunked and a bunch of other bullshit. So
I guess just to be complete, I guess we talked about the whole SFT thing too.
Yeah. And SFT banned Andrew Cumming in all forms and features.
I am now non-existent.
Non-existent.
Well, that tends to happen when somebody threatens your worldview and you don't have an otherwise cogent response.
They don't just ban other people. They ban their own mistakes and bury them deep under the ground where nobody can.
They do that too.
See them.
Leo, are you taking a shit?
Oh my God.
What?
Time to shoot her in the head.
Yeah, I just because you were like the last time you talked, you were like,
I was straining because I was holding back a cough from things. Anyway,
okay,
Andrew, I wanted to say to Andrew, I don't know if Sal still had. I don't know if Sal even actually ever blocked him, but I think Sal kicked him from a stream because all Andrew was doing was just like I get that this is what you're saying, and I understand that you're you're citing from this one paper from a obviously creationist astrophysicist, but I'm just curious, do you has this been reproduced in the field, and if so, to what extent? And I just remember Sal losing his shit. Dude, it was so funny.
Yeah. Well, I remember part of the reason he claims he banned me is because we were having a disagreement over whether on cosmological scales light loses energy, which I will admit I have learned more about it since we talked, but I don't think it quite makes the case. What I found out doesn't make the case for him either way.
Is he referring to redshift with losing
yes,
energy?
he's referring to galactic redshift. The thing is, light losing energy is kind of a simplistic way that's not entirely inaccurate to describe it. But at the same time, I think a better way of phrasing it is to say that the frequency of light drops over time as a result of the expansion of space. Just like it would do, like it does in the gravitational field, which gives rise to gravitational redshift. It's effectively the same thing, just resulting from the expansion of space-time rather than its curvature.
Right. I guess that's the point I would make nowadays would be that the difference between redshift due to cosmic expansion and redshift due to, say, like a gas due to tired light or whatever mechanism you're proposing is that fundamentally the space-time itself is changing, whereas in tired light it's spontaneously losing energy due to some unknown physical mechanism.
Holy water! Holy water!
He's pouring a big old pint of fucking beer there.
Yeah, what I was doing is pouring water into one of those little envelopes of flavor.
Are you gonna say something, Nestle?
Leo, I have a question. Like if it's true that a longer wavelength of light has less energy than a shorter wavelength of light, right? A shorter photon, right?
Generally speaking, yes.
So if energy is conserved, where does the energy go when light is redshifted?
As a result of a gravitational field or something?
Or whatever. Cosmic expansion or...
Well, because what I was going to say is that in general relativity, energy is not conserved.
Right.
Oh, right.
It's a weird thing. It's called it's related to Noether's theorem, basically on
time translation symmetry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
conservation of energy.
The weird thing about relativity on a global scale, energy is not necessarily conserved. I know it's pretty freaky, but it's the math supports it.
Yeah. Conservation of energy. This opens up a whole fucking new can of worms. Because then it gets into what do you mean by law of physics? And I take the laws of physics to be ceteris paribus laws. But anyway, conservation of energy is a result of time translation symmetry. Essentially a result from the temporal symmetry of a physical system. It's a particular symmetry in physical systems as they evolve through time, because that number would ultimately stay the same as you transform through the system through time, energy would be considered to be conserved. Time translation symmetry is not a thing in general relativity as a result of a gradients in the metric of space-time, a gradients in time dilation as a result of the mass energy density.
Yeah.
So basically, like if you look at the sun, the Earth's gravity slightly shifts photons towards the red light when we look at it. Or now, of course, we wouldn't notice it. But,
when photons fall into the gravitational field that the Earth creates, they gain energy.
Yeah, they get blue shift.
It would be a very, very slight blue shift.
Very slight.
Yeah.
But light that is coming off of the sun actually would be very, very, very slightly red shifted, because it's also, this is, some flowery terminology, but it makes the point. It's climbing out of the gravitational field that the sun creates.
It's the same reason why hypothetically, if someone were to fall beyond the event horizon of a black hole, the light would from them would essentially disappear over time. That's kind of the same phenomenon there.
Sorry, I left everybody hanging there. I had an important call pop through. So
no problem.
This prompts me another question. Like the equivalence principle, if I pronounce it correctly, the equivalence principle is like there is no difference between standing on Earth and accelerating through space, right? Like it's the same.
Yeah.
Well, simplistically, yes. More technically, the equivalence principle states that being stationary in a gravitational field of some defined strength is not differentiable compared to acceleration at some defined speed that would be otherwise proportional to that gravitational strength. If you think about it, standing on Earth's surface, just like standing there, you will be pulled down to Earth's surface at a rate of 9.8 meters per second squared. Well, there's a rate at which you could accelerate off of the Earth, at which you would be essentially pushed against the bottom of whatever is accelerating. Like if you were just put in like a box and that box was accelerated at some rate, you will be forced against the bottom of it with the same amount of energy that which the Earth is. Well, the Earth isn't really pulling you, but that which Earth's gravitational field is forcing you to its surface.
What I was going with that is there maybe another equivalence principle between like when a photon escapes a gravity well, like a photon from the sun towards space, it becomes redshifted. The same thing happens when it's traveling to an expanding cosmos. So is there an equivalence principle there too? Like it's the same. The photon experiences the same thing in an expanding space, and also when it's climbing out of a gravity well.
I would say no, because the expansion of space is measured over extraordinarily large distances. The distance that a photon is traveling when it escapes the gravitational field of a star is not even statistically significant when considering.
I would also note that the metric for describing that kind of situation is somewhat different than the metric for an expanding space-time. So it's not exactly a comparable situation.
Is it the same as the equivalence principle between like standing on Earth and accelerating through space? Is that the same thing as the other two? Principle, no?
I'm not sure. I would say no, probably.
I brought up the comparison between like standing on Earth versus accelerating at 9.8 meters per second in a rocket. There is no difference when you're experiencing acceleration.
Well, mathematically, there is no difference on the force that is applied to you against that other object, whether it be the Earth or the thing that is accelerating. But there are other things that would be different.
What I'm saying is there also an equivalence with the mathematics of redshift out of a gravity well versus expanding or traveling to an expanding spacetime?
Well, that's the thing. The mathematics is a bit different between those two situations.
All right.
Well, right, but both situations have an effect on whatever, if you're talking about a photon or if you're talking about an object traveling through space or the box you were talking about, then the bodies that are in space have an effect on it, and the expansion of space, has an effect on it, albeit maybe so minute you couldn't measure it.
Yeah, that's not to say an object traveling isn't going to experience both. Yeah.
Is it like I'm trying to think about it? Like, isn't there a sort of equivalent, like for example, the sun warps space-time, right? So when a photon is traveling from the sun towards space, the space isn't the space expanding, which was to the relative to the photon when it escapes the gravity well? Maybe I'm mistaken.
No,
yeah, it's not really, because the way you describe the sun, the space-time, kind of, to use some simple phrasing here, kind of pinching around the sun in this gravity well, is described by something called the Schwarzschild metric, which only kind of applies to single spherical bodies. I know there's so much criteria involved, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But such situations are not the same as the metric used to define an expanding space-time, which is called the FLWR metric. Yeah, it's named after a few people. Yeah. So I'm just saying that the mathematics that you describe those two situations are not exactly equivalent, because they are using different physical assumptions, namely that, like I said, the Schwarzschild metric, you're using a spherical body located in mostly empty space, whereas in an expanding space-time metric, you're applying that to a homogeneous isotropic universe where kind of every point in space-time is kind of evenly filled with matter and energy. And obviously those two situations aren't exactly equivalent, if that makes sense. So it's to say that the gravitational redshift isn't, it doesn't come from the same mathematics as cosmological redshift. They're different phenomena.
Gravitational redshift is proportionate to the strength of a gravitational field. Galactic redshift is going to be proportionate to the expansion in the space-time metric.
Yep.
Which would be its continuous increase.
All right. But here's what it is. Okay, so like, say you are a sniper and you have to take into account wind speed, and depending on distance, you have to also take into account the Coriolis effect. And you might use different, metrics of measurement to determine what those, two different things, what effect those two different things are going to have.
Yeah,
And
that's to say that the galaxy can be described in a way where gravitational redshift applies, but cosmological redshift also applies to it. So yeah, you do have to account for both when you're talking about individual galaxies moving through space versus the space-time itself expanding between them.
Right. I mean, and imagine somewhere down the line, Leo has already said on this show before that it will never be possible. But if there was some way to travel through space faster than the speed of light, then those kind of calculations would probably, I would think, have to be taken into account.
Yeah.
If you're going to travel that fast, you would have to be, taking into account the effects of the expansion of the space time.
Because you do, like I was saying, you do have to, when you're looking at galaxies, have to take into account what's called their peculiar velocity. That is their actual movement through space as they gravitate toward one another, versus their Hubble velocity, quote unquote. It's not really a velocity, but So you do need to take into account both when you're measuring the light coming from them.
Hey, boys and girls, we got a shooter in the head now.
Okay.
You gotta
So
do
those
it.
are some good questions, Nessig. Thanks for asking me, that.
Okay, we're gonna end for the night and go over to Gur Streams and
Yeah, go over to the guy that knows how to stream for longer than 2 fucking hours.
Yeah, but
yeah,
what do you get from streaming more than 2 hours? I don't get it.
Fun. A lot of fun. Good discussions.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, goodbye, guys. Goodbye, cruel world.
Hashtag John Maddox is a grifter.